I do like Instagram, but I am becoming increasingly aware that Instagram is quite a lot like a skill. And this is important because there's people who are really good at Instagram, and it's easy to think that the reason that those people are good at Instagram is because they have naturally perfect lives. And it can make us think, well, the reason that I'm not good at Instagram, the reason I don't have all of those followers and have, a feed that looks that beautiful, is because there's something wrong with my life. And I think it's really important to realize that the reason that they are good at portraying some idealized perfect life is not because they have some perfect idealized life, but that they are skilled at painting that picture. And speaking from personal experience, I often feel a lot of pressure to kind of portray this version of myself that doesn't exist, and then I feel kind of stressed out that it doesn't exist, and I think, oh, maybe I should be working on making the perfect life exist, and then I can just show that rather than, trying to portray something that doesn't actually exist. And then you think, well, that's not what I want to do, that's not me. And then you think, well, what is it that I'm trying to portray then? What am I actually trying to do here? And essentially, if you're an overthinker like me, you end up in a situation where you just don't post anything because it's too stressful. And that's pretty much my relationship with Instagram. So this little circle that I was running around in caused me to have a little look at my own Instagram feed, because I was thinking, what do I post? When I post, what do I post? So I was scrolling through my own Instagram page, and I did feel a little bit uncomfortable with how amazing my life looks on Instagram. I don't post very regularly, but I have been posting for a long span of time. So I do have quite a lot of photos, and it looks so fun and beautiful, and I go to loads of exciting places. And I'm not saying that is untrue, but as the person who lives my life, I can say that it's not all this. And so what I thought might be quite fun is to do a kind of Instagram versus reality with regards to some of these traveling photos, because traveling is portrayed in the social media realm as some incredible, beautiful, magical experience, and it definitely can be. I'm not saying that that isn't true, but there are so many practical issues and things that can go wrong and stressful things about it as well. And obviously I'm very aware, I'm very lucky to have gone to places that I've gone to, but it's not all beaches and cocktails. Sometimes things go wrong. And I felt like this was particularly interesting when I looked at the photos I chose to share of my trip to India, which I will just say now was amazing. I had a great time. I was a bridesmaid for my friend's wedding, and it was just genuinely like something out of a film. There were so many nights that were just dancing and fireworks, and it was magical, genuinely magical. But all that changed when I was on my way home. And that's what I want to tell you about now, because I didn't tell you about this on Instagram. I just showed you the beautiful pictures. There's a picture of a lion, there's me in a sari, beautiful photos. But then something happened that I didn't tell you, and maybe if I told you that, it wouldn't look quite as picturesque as it does. So that's what I'm going to do now anyway. I'm going to tell you that story. So grab yourself a cup of tea. This might be a slightly long one. So the first thing that you need to know about me is that I'm really, really popular with mosquitoes. They think I am the bee's knees. If I am anywhere where there are mosquitoes and there are people of any race, any skin type, any blood type, probably, I will admit that I'm not totally sure on that one, they will always go for me. I am always their favorite. So, I'm sorry, I don't want to make anyone jealous out there, but yeah, pretty big deal in the mosquito world. So because of this, I essentially had a weird kind of purple, bruised mosquito bite tan all over my legs. I had bites all over my legs. So it's the morning that I'm coming home. I've had a great time, and I'm going down the stairs towards the taxi, and I noticed that I have a limp, which was news to me because I didn't have a limp before, but it was just it was an easygoing limp. It was, nothing too limpy, just kind of like a little swagger almost, just a cool limp. So I limp down the stairs, I get in the taxi where I'm going to the airport with some other people, some of the bridal party, and we get to the airport. They go in the airport because it turns out they're at their airport Great for them. Good news. So happy for them. I do not get to go in the airport because I am at the wrong airport. So then I have to limp my way across to the other terminal, which is its own building because my first flight was internal and theirs was international. And then when I get there, the airport itself isn't even open. So I sit and watch Game of Thrones with a dog friend that I made. Now, just a little warning here, I'm going to post one of the few photos I have of the situation. And it's a photo of the dog friend that I made and my feet are in the photo. Just kind of, you can kind of see a bit of feet. I have friends who really hate feet. So there's gonna be feet in this next shot. So we can see there in that photo that my foot is starting to look a little bit suspect. Like, again, nothing too much of a big deal. Just sometimes feet are slightly bigger than they were. That's just the nature of life. So I board my flight to Delhi and I become aware that the limp is getting a little worse. The foot is getting a little bigger. Cause for concern. But at the same time, I'm thinking, Carmen, mind over matter. You will come to learn that the theme of this story is mind over matter. So I'm literally limping, thinking to myself that I should just stop limping. Like that. That's the advice I'm giving myself. Just stop limping. Just be okay. And that didn't really work. So me and my foot are on the plane to London. I'm in the aisle seat and I start to become very aware of the fact that my foot feels like it is exploding, but very slowly, like a very slow expansion. I start to feel the swelling kind of start to invade the bit of my foot where the toes are. Kind of like if you were blown into a rubber glove, that kind of feeling. And I'm starting to be aware of this pressure that I'm feeling on my foot. But again, I'm thinking to myself, mind over matter. Carmen, you just sit here and you watch the film. Watch the film. Do not think about anything else than the film, because currently, yes, there is a situation, but what good will become of telling someone? Like, I genuinely did not want to disturb anyone, despite the fact that my foot was becoming a monster foot. Like, even in that situation, I'm on a plane. My foot is expanding, which isn't what feet are meant to do. Even in that situation, I did not want to disturb anyone because I didn't want to, be annoying or distract them from their job. The woman next to me needed the toilet, which is fully her right to do. But I had to get up to let her out. And this is when I notice that the foot is absolutely massive. And not only is it massive, which is problem enough, but it's really painful. And I have to stand on this foot twice, once to let the lady out, another time to let the lady in. And I have an overwhelming urge to cry. But I'm English, so I did not cry. I kept it in, and I decided that I would sit back down and I would watch the rest of the film, and then I would have a nap. And then we deal with it later. So the plane lands and I have to put on my flip-flops. The thing with flip-flops is that they're significantly more not shoe than they are shoe. Like, the amount of shoe that it actually is very, very minimal. So when you can't fit on your flip-flop, when your flip-flop doesn't fit, something has gone wrong. So basically I had to pull on the straps and shove my foot in so that there were these horrible, painful mounds either side of the straps. So I disembark the plane and I find a man just standing in the corridor who, clearly works for the airport. And I say, "Excuse me, but my foot is massive. Is there a nurse I can see?" And he looks down at my foot and, no lie, he goes, So I wait for the paramedic and I'm starting to get a little bit antsy because my flight to Newcastle is leaving any minute and I might not be able to go. And just to recount the situation that I'm in, I have taken 2 flights from India. I've got 1 flight left. I haven't washed in a significant amount of time. I have a massive foot. I don't have anywhere to go in London. Basically, I really wanted to go home. I really wanted to make that flight. Everything about me in that moment was like, mind over matter, we're making that flight, Carmen, we're doing this. So the paramedic turns up and he gives me an injection, and we have to wait a little bit of time to find out if the injection works. And after like 10 minutes or so, he says, if I can stand up and walk on the foot, then I will be allowed to go home. If I cannot, I will have to go to hospital. And I'm thinking to myself, easy. If the two options are go home or go to hospital, I'm choosing go home, and I will be able to go home because mind over matter. I can just walk on the foot, can't I? I can choose to do that. It's well within my ability to choose to walk on the foot. It doesn't matter if it hurts. I'm going home, paramedic man. I'm going home. So I put my hands on the tiny little wheelchair. Oh yeah, I'm in a wheelchair. On a wheelchair armrest, and I push myself up and I stand on my foot, and I immediately fall back in the chair and start crying. And I'm very sad because, one, I'm not going home, I'm going to hospital, and two, mind over matter doesn't work. What a way to learn that lesson. So the paramedic is very concerned that if I get a taxi, then they will just pull up to the hospital and then be like, bye, off you go, which isn't what I needed because I couldn't actually walk. So he was the nicest man. He arranged it so that I could go down onto the forecourt where the actual planes are, and I got his like paramedic mobile to the hospital. So he passes me over to the staff there, and I get my own bed, I got my little cannula thing. Is that what it's called? I always get cannula and catheter confused. Cannula. The blood one. Anyway, I get the blood thing. And everyone is very concerned that I might have a foot disease, or just a disease, actually, just a general exotic disease from India. And that's what they're trying to eliminate. And I spend the night there. It was a very stressful night. There was lots of sounds, and I wanted to go home, and I was really sad. I just wanted to go home, and instead I had a massive foot. And also, mind over matter is something we tell children. It's like Santa Claus, like one day you just got to realize that that's not the case. And I eventually get told that, good news, I do not have an exotic illness, I just have a foot infection. So this is great news, and I should have probably been a bit happier, but instead I was just overly concerned about the fact that I was in London and I needed to get home and I didn't know how. And also my flip-flops still didn't fit on me. So they gave me some antibiotics, and I put one of my flip-flops in my bag. I wore the other one, and I just hopped. Off I hopped. This nurse stops me, and she notices that I have my foot out. This big, throbbing, purple monster foot is out on display. She says, I've got something for you. And I think, oh, I wonder what this is going to be. And she goes to the cupboard and she brings out, and I'm so grateful, like, thank you very much. But she brings me a giant red slipper sock, just one, just one giant red slipper sock, big enough, man size, big enough to fit over my monster foot. And I am grateful because obviously the monster foot could get cold, or it could get infected even further. We don't really know what the situation could be. But it did mean that when I got to the airport, I was essentially dragging around at this point a massive, massive foot in a red sock, which kind of, I felt, drew attention to the foot even more. And thankfully someone had put in my file that I had a foot incident. So when I got to the airport, British Airways just put me on the next flight to Newcastle, so I didn't have to pay any extra. So I was really, really pleased and very grateful about that. But it did mean that I had some time to kill in the airport, and I think it was it Stansted? I can't remember which London airport it was, but it was, there's like Chanel and Rolex and all these like posh, like there's a strip of shops that's really, really posh. And I remember I was wearing this little white dress with my purple bitten legs that looked like I had some terrible disease. I had one flip-flop and I had a giant red sock. That was my outfit of choice as I hobbled past Chanel and Rolex, and it was not great for my self-esteem because I was getting a lot of looks. I was getting a lot of attention because clearly, you know, people aren't used to this kind of new fashion, the one flip-flop, one sock and unwashed look. Yeah, I think I genuinely did smell quite a lot as well because it had been a long time since I had last had a shower. I'd been sitting about getting a big foot. But luckily, me and my giant foot made it home, and ultimately all was well, and I had a week off work because I couldn't fit any shoes on. And yeah, I didn't tell you that on Instagram. On Instagram, it looks so picturesque and so wonderful and beautiful, and it was in a lot of ways, but there's also this whole other side of things that I just don't tell you, I just don't say. But I do think a lot of that is just the culture of Instagram. Even last year, I went to Japan, and my photos are so beautiful. I was looking back at them because it's just been my birthday, and I was there for my birthday last year, so I was just looking through my photos and thinking, oh, that was great. What a wonderful time I had. And I did have a wonderful time, but also what happened is I had an allergy to the detergents that the hotel used, so my skin came off. I had all these like open sores on the back of my hands, and I had to use this medical grade moisturizer the whole time I was there. So that's not something I told you either. I just showed you the beautiful things because I guess there's enough negativity in the world, but also it does just paint a very unrealistic, one-sided view of things. So this video is an attempt to kind of readdress the balance, but also I really love that story. I find it really funny because even when I was living it, I was kind of floating above myself going, this is quite funny. It's really funny that you've got a big foot. So obviously this is kind of a different sort of video, but I did think it was one, important, two, just a really good story that I wanted to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please don't forget to subscribe and give it a like if you did like it. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to my amazing patrons. It means so much to me. Thank you. And I will see you very shortly. Goodbye. Compromises, bargain prices, pay the cost to get what the hype is. Yeah, you need this, your uniqueness. Gotta make it deal with your weakness. So I own more just to prove that I've got much more to lose.